So, hi, thank you for joining us. So my name's Vicky Bailey, and we're going to spend, we're not going to be longer than half an hour, hopefully, just a bit of time out from the weird situation we all find ourselves in. And this is who I am, she said. If I can click and get the slides to move, that would be good. So I've offered to work with SCAD. Just feeling like I want to give something to everybody in the community. So I'm a psychotherapist, coach and trainer in my day job, and I specialise in mental health and emotional wellbeing. So I sit in no other chair from all of you that have joined us, in the sense that everything that's going on has hit our family and our household. What I wanted to be able to offer SCAD and the community is maybe some tips and share some ideas of how you can take some time out and start to lessen the impact of some of what's going on around us. I wanted to just start by just saying that I'm with you as part of the community. So on the 22nd of May last year, I had a heart attack. It was diagnosed in the early hours of the 23rd of May. The photo that you see on the screen is my partner and I when I was in hospital. I'm so sorry. No one ever rings the landline except when I'm online. So I do apologise. It will go to voicemail, I hope. And then you'll hear someone talking. What we did is I took the photo, not because I wanted a photo of me in hospital. We should have been festivaling that weekend. So my friends kept sending me photos from the festival. So I sent them a photo of myself back in hospital and said, can you stop sending me the photos of the festival, please? And then the other photo that's there is my girls and my partner and myself at the SCAD walk in September. And then the other one there is bluebells, which are one of my all-time favourite things and keep me happy, apart from the sea. So last year, yeah, I went through my SCAD, was in hospital for a week. I'm not back at work technically yet, so I'm still sort of recovering and was just starting my journey, my next phase of my journey, to start re-entering the world of work. And then coronavirus sprung on us, and we find ourselves in the situation that we're in today, which unprecedented, weird, strange. There's so many different words around describing what we're in. In fact, Claire and I, before we started this, were saying it feels like we're living in a bit of a film. So there's no right or wrong way to process what's going on. In terms of my SCAD, you haven't seen me on Facebook because I choose not to be on social media in terms of at a personal level because of what I do for a living. I have shared my journey intermittently with some vlogs, which you are able to watch, and you're very welcome to watch. And it's just a conscious choice with being a therapist that when I'm in my private time, I'm in my private time, and when I'm in work, I'm in work. So it's just a personal thing, really. So I'm fine. I've had a second follow-up with Dr. Adlam, who happens to be my consultant, and he has said he's happy with everything. He did give me a little bit of a surprise and told me I did have 3 tears, which was more than I realised I had. And I think, like all of the community, it is that roller coaster that we have every day. And the more we move away from the event and come to terms with it and learn to live with it, the easier the days become, and the less the jolt of, oh my gosh, that's happened. So I'm happy to answer questions. I don't particularly want to make it all about me, but I thought it would be useful just to have an idea that I'm with you as part of the community, and probably have shared some of the roller coaster that you may have been on, although we haven't been in each other's shoes. So what I wanted to start with is the theory behind these sessions is it's a quick check-in. It's ideas for you to take away, use with you, your family, your partners, your infrastructure that you sit in, your communities. And it's offering tips, and we want to do a series of them rather than overwhelming you with lots in one go. We want to do short versions and some ideas of how to manage the anxieties and fears that are floating around. And one of the things that we want to thread through is a bit of a book club. So I was going to just start with one of my favourite books at the moment. So I'm not sure if everyone's seen this book. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely delightful. It is just beautiful. I've seen him interviewed and I've seen a lot of reviews on it, and he's just genius, this chap. You could sit down with a coffee if you get this book and you could read it in half an hour. It's not a novel, it's not anything else. It's one of those lovely coffee table books that gives you messages, it gives you a lift, it helps with the happiness that we need to find at the moment. And I'm not sure whether you can read on the screen, so I'll read it to you. I just got an extract here. So, do you have a favourite saying? Asked the boy. Yes, said the mole. What is it? If at first you don't succeed, have some cake. I see. Does it work? Every time. So the mole has a thing for cake, and the other thread that goes through this book is around kindness and around giving time, and there's some lovely little pick-me-ups in there. And one of my favourite quotes from the book is this, is one of our greatest freedoms is how we react to things. So one of the things that's going on at the moment is we have no ability to influence what's going on, and that in itself is something that generates a lot of fear at a human level. We're being told that we need to stay at home, we're being told how to live. It is so alien to our culture and our society now, that really one of the things out of this quote I wanted to share with you, and I picked this, is we can still make choices. They haven't all been taken away from us. We can maybe start to think differently, start to be a bit more creative with how we are within our little communities, in our households, or if you are on your own, how you create a virtual community. So there is still a chance to have choice. And one of the fundamental things for human beings is the ability to have choice. Now, when I'm working with people, I'll say that to someone and they'll say, well, my choices aren't always easy. No, they're not. As long as we have choice, doesn't always mean that they're easy and that they're great options. Fundamentally, at a human level, though, if we've got more than one option, the shoulders will come down metaphorically, and we're not in a corner. We've got options to come out. And I think that's a really useful way of thinking at this point in time. We haven't got a lot of options in terms of the big picture. What we have is in the moment and within our own infrastructures, we maybe can find some options and choices. So I think for me, that is taken from that book, maybe from this webinar. If you haven't seen that book and it's of interest to you, that might be something you can take away from today. It is absolutely delightful. I've got 2 teenage girls, as you saw in the picture. I didn't ask them, I made them sit down, and we read the book, and actually they quite enjoyed it. And I haven't read to them for years. So there's ways that you can use that book. It's just one tool. So the idea of the webinars, as I said, is to give you one tool to take away. So that's a little mini tool for you to take away. The main one that I wanted to focus on with you today is about gratitudes. So I do a lot of work around resilience. I do a lot of training around resilience in business and in sport. And therefore I've done quite a lot of research around it. And it's really quite interesting because we're all grown-ups now and our brains and our neurology are very set. And the latest thinking around that is that actually we can actually still change how we are as a human being. It just takes a bit longer because everything is so set. And this exercise and this process that I'm going to talk to you about now and share with you is one of the exercises that actually, if you choose to have a go at it and it works for you, it can change the thinking. It can actually help you in the resilience that you maybe need to draw on at the moment. I'm going to blast you with a tad of theory, just so that you've got some ideas, because everybody works differently, and then I'll take you into what the exercise is. So the theory and the thinking behind using gratitudes, a lot of people hear this and they go, oh yeah, it'd be fine, it'd be fine, it'd be fine. I'm really grateful for this, I'm really grateful for that. The theory is that it's it evokes a positive emotion. And the impact of positive emotions is it actually has benefits on our physical health. And it does actually strengthen our immune and our cardiovascular system, which I thought was very relevant for our community at the moment. It helps us recover from trauma, and as much as we're probably feeling we're in a trauma at the moment, it will help with the recovery as well. It helps us see the bigger picture and to not be too in ourselves. And it helps within that bigger picture to encourage that there is opportunity, there is bigger things that are positive out there. It does help us connect with people, and I wanted to offer an exercise from today that maybe keeps us connected. And it does just lift us and help us feel good. It isn't an easy process. It's like anything, any of us that do sport or art or anything, we have to practice. It is one of those. And it does actually enable us to be living more in the moment. So many of us in our daily lives prior to this COVID-19 is we often live ahead in the future, which in itself is quite stressful. Whereas if we can live in the present and more in the moment with an eye on the future, the stress starts to come down. So we are in what we're in currently. So if we can gift ourselves that acknowledgement with our eye ahead and then just sit and come back, I think that will help us. So the gratitude helps us sort of feel good already. And the other thing I wanted to make within our community is we've been through some big stuff having the SCADs, and each of us will have been significantly impacted by that. And each of us will have our anxieties and fears around that. And each of us is coming through that. So you do have resources within you and you are resourceful. So be confident that that's there. So I'm going to just share with you now the activity that I'm offering to you as a tip for today. And Claire's helped me coordinate the webinars, and she will moving forward because she's brill. We have your email addresses when you registered, and we will only be using those on the back of these webinars. So with your permission from there, we're going to send you the resource that I'm about to share with you, and then you've got it. So this particular activity is a little bit challenging and it's quite hard, and I think it's worth a go. So what we're inviting you to do, and if you're up for it, we could all do it together from the people that have joined this webinar, is that you notice 3 things that you're grateful for every day, and they need to be 3 different things, and then they need to be different every day. So what you would end up with is doing this exercise over a 30-day period, which is the sciencey neurology bit, that in 30 days you will then evoke a change. You would end up with 90 different positive things. So if I can offer you an example, a colleague of mine who's in this field of work has an allergy against nail varnish, and she's one of these people that it always looks fabulous. You know, it's one of her joys in life is how she dresses. She loves her clothes, her makeup, and her hair, and all of that. So her frustration on being allergic to most nail varnishes was quite huge. And then her and I were speaking at an event, and I saw her and I noticed she'd got red nail varnish on. And she said, I have got red nail varnish on, and my gratitude for today is that I have found a nail varnish brand that has 2 colours that I'm not allergic to. And that was really important to her. So in her journal, she captured that by saying, today I am grateful that I have found whatever the brand was and the colours, nail varnish. So the gratitude is very personal, and the gratitude will be right if it's appropriate to you. So you can start off with the big things like, I'm grateful for whatever you're grateful for in the big picture. They're absolutely valid. I think I offered you that one because if we stick to this and we give this a go together, as we go on through the day, sometimes it's a bit more challenging to find the gratitude. In an ideal world, this is the invitation, is we do 3 per day for 30 days, which gives us 90. If that feels a little bit uphill, we could compromise it to 1 a day. What you would compromise there is the impact of the activity. So that becomes a personal choice. And I can't tell you whether you can or not. All I can do is say, yes, it would still work. It wouldn't have the significant impact that the research has shown that if we do for 30 days. So most of these webinars and most of the thought around the webinars is to offer you key tools you can use, your extended family, your immediate family, etc., your friends, to stay in the moment and notice what we can influence. So the biggest thing to notice is we can't influence what's going on. The madness and the horrendous thing that's impacted the whole of the world, we can't influence that. What we can do is take some responsibility for ourselves, responsibility for our nearest and dearest, and notice what we can affect. What can we actually influence? And keep an eye on the rest without it letting it overtake us. I just love this graphic. Claire and I have worked together for a little while, and she knows that this is one of my favourite graphics. Like, come on, we can do this. And I think Audrey's got a bit of a point here, that nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. So this is a time to really focus on you and really begin to focus on looking after yourself. You will be more useful to yourself and those around you if you start to be compassionate and kind to yourself. Just give me a second to read that. For those of you that maybe want to know a little bit about my background, I've worked in sport for 20 odd years before I then transitioned into my current business. And I still work in sport because it's in my DNA. And the biggest thing in sport is practice, practice, practice to get the skill into your DNA as a sports person, whether that's at a rec level or right into the elite level. So I love this quote, because if we are consistent, if we do keep giving it a go, if we do give our space, if you choose to do this activity, if you do commit to doing one or the three, and you stay with the commitment and you keep the consistency, you will keep and manage a sustained change. And that brings us to the last slide, which, nice graphic again, just opening it up to you very genuinely and very happy to hear from you, comments, observations or questions, and I'm really happy to field those. I'm just going to do a quick time check. So we're about 20 minutes in, so I think if you're happy, we've probably got a good 10 minutes, and if we haven't got questions, that's fine. And aim to finish by 3, because we've all got other commitments, I'm sure, around the house. So thank you so much for listening. Really happy to open the floor. As Claire mentioned a minute ago, if you go into the Q&A box, which you've all found, I think Claire then sees that, so she will ask the question. And I think, Claire, if we keep, maybe anonymise it, maybe change the name for me, just because we're going to record this and put it on the website, if that's okay. I'll be happy to answer questions, so thank you very much for listening.
We've got one question, Vicky, is to do with the isolation that I think people are finding at the moment, and the sort of the changes to our daily routine. Have you got any top tips you can give us on how we can sort of create a routine, or is there any top tips you can share?
I probably ought to drag my teenage girls in here because they're fed up with me trying to sort out a routine for them. I think what's really important is to be very kind to yourself and gentle. So that's quite a hard thing for a lot of us to do, is to be kind and gentle and realise that this is a significant change. One of the things that we're working on in our household, and there's 4 of us that rub along in this household, is starting to find a new routine and a new normal. So I have 2 children who are still doing schoolwork. So we've agreed together, with a slight drive from Mum, that they will be sitting down by a certain time, that they will be working for a certain time, then we will have a break and maybe have some food together, which wouldn't be a normal. Then we might have a walk, and then they'll do another bit of work. And then after that, it's their free time, and that they will then also have certain times off their gadgets, and they have to occupy themselves in a different way. So we've worked together to see what suits everybody, because if I parachute in too much as a mum, it's my agenda, it's not our agenda. So I think the top tip from that is to find out within the household what people need, and you know your household. So my girls do need routine because that works for them. The other thing that started to happen, and I've noticed a lot with people around, is people seem to be actually picking the phone up more, which is delightful. For as you get to know me, and Claire's known me for years, I'm a massive techie. I'm much better at connecting with people face to face and chatting. So maybe have virtual coffees. maybe be brave and say, look, we haven't caught up for ages. I'm going to stick the kettle on at 11. And if your gadgets allow you, do a FaceTime or have a chat. So find a creative way to actually connect with each other. The other thing I would suggest, and it's been bandied around the news, but I really think it's advice that is worth heeding, is to limit your access to the news and social media in terms of the stuff that's flooding in, because the media is still the media, and they will be promoting and telling us the stories, and at the moment the stories are not positive. And it would be quite nice if they changed, I think, and maybe started to say, this is what it's about, this is the significance, and this is what we need to do. And also, there are these people that are being ill and come through it, and it is a nasty virus. So there's not a lot of balance sometimes, depending where your chosen media is. So I think limit yourself there. So I think routine is quite important, because it helps you feel structured and contained. And there's no right or wrong, because it becomes a new normal. And get as much fresh air as you can. I think I heard today that somebody had run the equivalent of a marathon on their balcony in Italy. Good man. So probably things that are familiar to people, it's the bravery to put them into action. So hopefully that answers that, Claire.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Not a question, but just want to say thank you very much. Everything you've said is so helpful and nice to know. Things I've started to do, routines, less news, etc. So another question here. Great idea, virtual meetups, planned family household quiz on Saturday lunchtime.
Good luck.
Can join in and see their grandkids.
Fantastic.
Just need to try and find out how to play games via Zoom.
Yeah, I was trying to encourage my mum to play bridge by Zoom. It wasn't really working very well. So I'm not quite sure. I think you need to pick your game on that. I think a friend of mine thought Articulate might work if you've got that, or somebody in the network's got it. What was the other game we thought? I think you could do charades. I don't know. We're still working on that one. So maybe that's something to share. Once you've smashed that out the park and you've got it, can you share it with us and so we can all find out those games that we can play, please? That would be good. The other thing, just talking about games, it might be, if you pick this gratitude idea up, that you could, if you were sharing a meal in your immediate household, depending on your living arrangements, that you bring them in, and so you actually talk about the gratitudes that you have for that day, so you articulate it. That might be another way of bringing together. And the other tip I forgot to probably say in the gratitudes thing is, when you're writing it, please could I invite you to, with your language, to say I am grateful for. So if you use the word grateful in terms of the background theory, it's more impactful than thankful in other words that have the same meaning. Sorry, just that popped in my head. But do share the board games if you can master that. I'd be delighted to hear that one. Any others, Claire?
Yeah, we've got when do you recommend doing the diary? I tend to do mine as I fall asleep, hence nice dreams.
Yeah, lovely.
Is there a good time of the day to actually complete the diaries?
I'm actually a little bit fluid with it, because I've given this out, as you might imagine, to a few clients. I trust your instincts. So if it's working for you at bedtime and that helps you just, that out breath and that, right, I can start to go into and it gets you into a nice bedtime routine, which we all need that sometimes if we've got disturbed sleep. We'll do a webinar on that. The other thing is maybe to be mindful of it during the day, and if something pops up, it's okay to write it. So I would just be a little bit fluid and see when it benefits you. So I think it's a lovely observation that it would help you at night, if that's a good thing for you. It might be you do one either end of the day, or so I think find what works for you, because everything is different for everybody. The commitment to it is the big thing, I think. Any others, Claire?
We've just had a comment saying we're going to try Cluedo.
Oh, do you know what? I think we'll need another session on how to manage competitiveness across Zoom. Cluedo, duly noted.
And we've just had another comment come in saying webinar on disturbed sleep sounds brilliant.
Okay, actually, shall I be a bit naughty and just flag some of the thoughts that we've had? That might be useful just to get your feedback as you're here. So I'm just trying to find my list, hang on. What about breathing? Probably sounds a bit obvious, but people stop breathing when there's fear and anxiety around. And what about mindfulness? Now, I'm not going to train you how to be mindful. I'm going to give you some tips to help you in mindfulness practice, which is slightly different. We'll do one, I'll put the sleep one down. And then there was a couple of others that I've got some theory around. There's a lot of research. So we know about our 5 veg a day. There's now thinking about 7 healthy mind platter. So I was going to bring some of those in, which is very theoretical, bringing it into action. So that's my job to do that with you. So the breathing, the mindfulness practice and pacing yourself, and the sleep were the other ones that are currently on the agenda. If there's anything else anyone's got ideas for, I'm happy to look. Not an expert in everything, and I'll soon tell if it's not my arena. So hopefully they'd be useful.
Yeah, breathing help, great idea. We've had feedback already.
Yeah, so sleeping, breathing, and maybe we combine a couple because they're not necessarily all 20 minutes. I'm not going to make you sit there and listen to something for 20 minutes if not. The mindfulness and pace I think would be useful at some point for everybody because it will bring up some of these bits together. Okay. Happy to take ideas ongoing, because if this is going to be useful for people and we can grow the community into interacting like this, I'm very happy to lead it very gently. There might not be weekly, there might be sort of every 10 days, just managing my own household and process as well. Is there any other questions or thoughts?
No, that's it. That's everything.
Well, thank you. I think Claire can see who's joined us, so you can see the names, can't you, Claire? So we know who to email. Yeah, brilliant. We will make sure that the email gets to you in the next day with the template. If you want to give it a go and you need some support, if you want us all to do it together, just let us know. If not, we will make sure that through the Facebook group, which is where we'll primarily promote these, even though I'm not on it, Debbie, Oliver, and I know Sarah might promote that. So we'll promote the next webinar. So thank you. And thank you for dialing in and taking time for you.